Because right now, FEMA has its own eyes and ears operation, and it works through people committed to military service. Oh, here it is over here. Don't nobody want to hear this. Let's see here. In fact, we did this lecture on FEMA because of this article that appeared in Afro-American in Washington, D.C. on November 9th, 91. See, at Howard's homecoming, which is like a Mecca, like Friday at Spelman or somewhere, everybody shows up from everywhere. Howard's homecoming, people come from all over the country to hang out. Africans, clean-cut African brothers and sisters. And then what happened was many of the students milled over on Georgia Avenue, and the white boys showed up with helicopters and riot gear and gassed the students who was just standing in the middle of the street. Didn't have nowhere to go before the step show started. The football game was over. It was between the football game and the step show, so they just stood on the street. The boys came in there and gassed them. And so the students said, "Why did you gas us?" It's because when we found this article, Police Action in HU Class to be Probed, we found out from a councilman who participated in developing and planning the logistics of crowd safety for Howard University's homecoming with Howard and the Office of Emergency Preparedness. So Howard's homecoming safety committee had the Office of Emergency Preparedness in it. That's the D.C. local connection to FEMA, the municipal connection. You have somebody for your municipality. Anybody here work for Atlanta's Office of Emergency Preparedness or the City Municipal Emergency Preparedness Agency? Nobody. I wonder why they don't never come to these type of meetings. They're already here. They're in disguise. Jack. Jack, right, brother? In fact, this was the flyer from the FEMA lecture. What is the Federal Emergency Management Agency? What is the King Alfred Plan, the Ollie North Plan? Why are so many military bases being closed? Why was the Office of Emergency Preparedness involved in the planning of Howard University's homecoming? Under what circumstances will FEMA pick you up? I highly recommend you check into that. I know here, we found an article in Nation magazine, Scandals of State Militias, saying that a part of FEMA's responsibility, in case your National Guard is someplace else fighting, that they form an ad hoc state militia to contain the people. Right. It says that the U.S. Army has the primary responsibility. Let's hear some chat. Yeah. Says that the National Guard under the Department of the Army and by the FEMA, these militias will be used to suppress civilian disorder, round up subversives, and fight terrorists. They would also perform domestic intelligence and counterintelligence functions. Quote, you always have a society of subversive element or group of people who may be symptomatic of another cause. There's always a threat, a potential terrorist threat, even during peacetime. The threat would probably increase upon National Guard mobilization to disrupt transportation, communications. In the event of rapid mobilization of the Guard, resulting in greater possibility of civil disturbances or terrorist activity, the state's defense forces would be needed to maintain order. The governor controls such forces. Who's your governor? What you know about it?
Marine.
Huh?
Well, Marine. Boot camp.
Boot camp, Marine, white, will get you if necessary. That's what we know about him. He will get you if necessary. Now, in that article from The Nation, it gave an example in California where they found out that, in fact, Maxine Waters found out that the National Guard, if called to other places, will then be replaced by ad hoc military, which in California will be housed at Camp San Luis Obispo, where they would arm and train as many as 20,000 recruits with M14 rifles, 45 caliber pistols, and riot gear, then dispersed to assign armories and assigned to armories for orders. Furthermore, officers would maintain, quote, counterintelligence investigative files that would list, quote, local intelligence, counterintelligence, and security files on activities related to local persons, organizations of interest to the local command. Now, if you could hear what I was saying is that this militia that supports the National Guard through the use of the U.S. military is responsible for local intelligence, counterintelligence, and security files activities related to local persons and organizations of interest to that command. It says that recruits themselves would be obligated to report on the following questions. What are the centers of operation or communications for anti-U.S. personnel and activities? What are the vulnerabilities of key personnel who are conducting or supervising adverse actions against the U.S.? What agencies are instrumental in activities designed to lead to actions or conditions detrimental to U.S. interests? Furthermore, it says that all military personnel in California were sworn to, as it states here, ordered recruits to report perceived domestic enemies who, to them, were perceived as being a threat to the stability of the United States government. Check. If you're in the military, do not participate in fingering other Africans, even though we know you are compelled to by your mere fact of being with them. And if you get caught not telling, you get in trouble. And I say to that, don't get caught doing it. Get Time magazine, December 9th, 1991, did an article called Doomsday Hideaway on Mount Weather, the place where the white folks gone when the civil disturbance come. It's a secret hidden away mountain with a down below control connection that allows them to stay there for a year or two without coming out. Doomsday Hideaway, Time magazine, December 9th, 1991. Also get the transcripts to the special CNN report called Doomsday Government. CNN special assignment November 17th, 1991 is the day it aired. Transcript number 104. It says, within the hidden government, there is a secret plan that could make an unelected official outside the legal line of succession president of the United States. It says it took them over 1 year just to do this little 5-page transcript. CNN, November 17, 1991. It also says that these are called black programs because no light is allowed to shine in and reveal them to the world. Now they call it black program, and I suggest it's a program on the blacks. Says they're called special access or black programs because no light is allowed to shine and reveal them to the world. Of all the black programs, none is blacker or more hidden than the COG, Continuation of Government program. None is more blacker. I think that means get the blacks. FEMA is controlled by the Department of State, CIA, Department of Defense, and FEMA will have this emergency management responsibilities. Says the only person who could talk to them honestly was a man from the Brookings Institute, and that's because Brookings wrote the specs for Brzezinski that made him go into government in 74, 78 under Carter. Everybody thinks Reagan set it up. Carter's ass set up FEMA. Check. Habitat that. It also says, and I know, honestly, Jimmy Carter scared shitless of these white people. I mean, here's a white guy who was groomed and trained by these white people. Then his brother broke away and took $20 million from Gaddafi because he found honest black men. And they kicked his brother's ass, kicked his grandmother's ass, kicked his daughter, and kicked his ass, October surprise, right on out the White House, even though they put him there.
That's right.
Now that's deep. And he shuts the fuck up, too. One day, he ought to honestly come and talk to the black people. See, you got well-meaning white people. Say, be well-meaning and come over here and tell us the whole story. It said at the end of that report that some of the people who would have responsibility for running things, if there was martial law, Gene Kilpatrick, Howard Baker, Richard Helms, James Schlesinger, Tip O'Neill, Ed Meese, Dick Thornburg, Dick Cheney. These are people who have jobs under the Presidential Successor Support System, which is chaired by Dan Quayle. Says here, civil disturbances. The Chief of Staff, U.S. Army, through the Director of Military Support, exercises direction of the federal military forces committed to civil disturbance operations and prepares and publishes civil disturbance plans. Let me repeat whose job that is. The U.S. Army Chief of Staff, through the Director of Military Support, exercises direction of the federal military forces committed to civil disturbance operations and prepares and publishes civil disturbance plans like garden plot. Check. Now, I made a point of saying that. Emergency bill would suspend the Constitution. Instant confiscation of real estate. Immediate possessions of everything. Throw all hoarders in jail. Nationalize the means of production. Nationalize all jobs, we ain't got none. Freeze wages, we ain't got none of them either. Pardon me?
Where'd that come from?
Instantaneous apartheid, show you right, brother. Instantaneously, they can come up with a stronger phase of what they're already doing.
Jimmy Carter signed it into law in 1978.
Yes, sir. And Reagan updated it in 82 with Gulfrida and Ollie North. It was exposed in the Contragate hearing, and Jack Brooks, Congressman of Texas, brought it up. NUA, Senator from Hawaii, shut him up, and Louis Stokes sat there and didn't say a damn thing. Now we'll move on. Know the difference between owners and operators. Rhodes Rothschild, owners. Skull and Bones, Boulay, Masons, operators. Under owners. Know the difference between owners and operators? We got to neutralize the operators and destroy the owners. Check. Know the difference. Now, Skull and Bones, got a tape down there. You can hear a lot about it. Articles that'll tell you a lot about Skull and Bones. Get this book, America's Secret Establishment, by Anthony Sutton, research fellow of the Hoover Institute. Good white university think tank attached to Stanford. There's his face. Good white source. You can quote him. America's Secret Establishment, an introduction into the order of Skull and Bones. This is the full book. It was broken into 4 booklets. This is one of the booklets. The Secret Order, The Secret Cult of the Order by Anthony Sutton. This is one of the 4 booklets that went in to make the book, America's Secret Establishment, an introduction into the order of Skull and Bones. Get Esquire magazine, September 77. The Last Rites and Rituals of Skull and Bones, another article that you could read about them. Remember, George Bush is a Skull and Bones member. He is a secret society, remember? And George Bush was sworn in with George Washington's Bible, though the white boys swear he ain't a Mason. Though when I went to the Masonic Temple and found their little magazine, there's George Bush right on the cover of the Scottish Rite newsletter. Though they swear he ain't a Mason. In fact, while we were there, anyway, I'll get to the Mason boys in a minute. Skull and Bones, they do their ritual in a casket. Right? This is a grave digger's operation. They do their ritual in a casket. Their headquarters is called a tomb, T-O-M-B. That is not a storehouse of the living. Remember, their logo is a skull and crossbones. When they go over, when they're doing their initiation, they lay into the casket and they take a new name. What is Bush's new name? Also, they happen to give compromising stories about their sex life. Why? Because white boys specialize in allowing white boys who they have something on to be in positions of power so that when they don't want them, they can remove them through their pathological deviant activity. There's a strong thread of homosexuality in white secret societies. You saw the movie JFK, you can see how the homosexual thing of Clay Shaw and Ferry protected their CIA assassination activity. Didn't mention the tape, that coup d'etat in America tape is powerful. 1, 2, and 3 tape, 3 tape first set, $18. Brother Waleed, Martin King, Kennedy movie. Part 2 on CFR and the CIA. Part 3 on the challenge to investigate. Need to check into that. It will give you absolute verification that they are the ones who done it. Now, how will they get the right race to kill the black people even though all the whites don't want to do it? They will do it like this.
What's that?
Everybody saw this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody saw it, right?
Yeah.
Did you see what the headlines was of Time magazine the same week?
That's right.
Lost tribe, lost knowledge. When you kill a race of people, you kill their history. That's what it says. When a native culture disappears, so does scientific and the medical wisdom.
Which one is that?
This is Time magazine, September 23rd, 1991. This is Newsweek, September 23rd, 1991. Yes?
When you read the writers of both of those books, aren't they Jews and Zionists?
Absolutely. I'm going to get to the fact that, well, this is Skull and Bones boys. They watch, they Time magazine. Newsweek is the Jewish boys and that group.
But many of the writers, they still have Jewish writers.
In this particular magazine, of course, the whole question of Afrocentrism allegedly was brought to us by the Jewish boy Banal. I don't know what the fuck he wrote, black something or another. Who won FEMA? See, I be checking them because they don't know they've been checked, right? They know all of the wrong shit. They know the white boy's book, Who Fucking Us. Though he got some shit in it to make it look like he with us. That's the history book of the known Negro. In other words, they gonna say, you know, it used to be black people here. Here's a book about their history. We tried to keep them around, but it just didn't hold. You see the week before these two? You see that? Early man. You see that? Early man? I see that. The radical new view of where we came from. This looks like that brother right there. Early man. It looks just like you, brother. You posed for this? Did you pose for this? Come on. You wasn't that funny. Now, my point to it is that the whites, some whites love you, they emulate you, they dance like you, they wear your jerseys, they want to sing like you. So, to get the whites to kill you, they send a word out, if you don't like them, if you do like them, kill them for no other reason than they are the original people. And you can never be that as long as they're still here. In Search of Adam and Eve. You remember that one? Yeah. About Lucy. How about this one? Who are we? About Columbus and shit. Yeah. All these confessions, yeah, we fucked them. Yeah, we enslaved them. Yeah, we killed them. Yeah, we even lied on them. Yeah, we're going to kill them if we can catch them. Then they come up with this one. White people. Yeah. See that? Yeah. Written in ice language. Yes, sir. Look at that. That looks chilly. Y'all see this? Esquire magazine.
That's right. Esquire.
What day on Newsweek and Esquire?
What was it? Okay. Now, did you see what this said? White people, did you see what it said under it? It says, the trouble with America. Little bitty print. You see that? Did y'all see this? This is Esquire, February 92. It's out now. Got a bunch of shit on beastly white people activity confessed by white people. It says white people, and right there it says the trouble with America. Now that's deep. What you think about that, Amin Rock? What they trying to say? You didn't see it? Oh man, y'all see this?
Yeah.
Yep, no, okay. Check. Name the names. Keep your eye on this white boy named Brian Jenkins. He's previewed in the October 91 issue of M Magazine. And it says that he's an expert on terrorism. And I suggest he has files on many of us. He works for a Los Angeles corporation called Kroll Incorporated. And while I was in LA, we put his name out in his face real heavy so we could send a message that we got our eye on the ones who have their eyes on us. Brian Check, he's the expert from the Rand Corporation on terrorism, now works for Kroll Enterprises.
What magazine is that?
That's in M Magazine, M Incorporated. It says M-I-N-C period. October 91. The cover story is a story on the head of Lazar Perez in Europe. The secret most powerful bank.
Who saw what happened as a consequence of our efforts when, in my opinion, we won all the battles and then lost the war, could ever be unaffected by that unless they were totally insensitive. I would also point out that we didn't lose the war in Vietnam. We lost the war right here in this city.
Well, what North was saying there was that America's real enemies are inside this country. And that would explain why North spent so many years under Bush's auspices preparing contingency plans for rounding up large numbers of dissenters if we ever go into another war. Now, you'd have thought that the committee would have been outraged by North's sort of declaration of war with a large segment of the American people, but instead of their disagreeing with them, most of them actually agreed with him.